So the US government finally reopened yesterday late in the afternoon, but the crypto markets are dumping significantly, and also the US stock markets as well. And it's really due to the uncertainty, especially since we're already seeing that the October data that was supposed to come out may never come out at all, and pretty much Republicans are blaming the Democrats, and it's just a whole, petty party. But the whole biggest point is to notice that the markets are just dumping, and we're anticipating that potentially we could be seeing some more deviations. While there is some analysts and traders that are, analyzing specific zones and are expecting that we could be seeing a pump, and we were targeting these, areas of liquidity. And today I want to go ahead and walk you through the different perspectives from the bulls, from the bears, exactly with the US markets opening back up, and what everyone is anticipating for the markets and altcoins as well, because altcoins are just getting destroyed as of lately. So with all that being said, let's go and jump straight into the charts, the perspectives, and what you need to be aware of. So as I said, guys, the markets opened up for the United States yesterday, and from there we started to see fluctuations in the market. US government, pretty much in terms of the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, we weren't seeing good numbers, and the markets are just not looking good overall. You can see on the daily time frame how we have just been seeing massive selling action around Bitcoin and around Ethereum. Ethereum is just following the price action around Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin starts to crash more, Ethereum is just going to follow that price action. I've been charting Ethereum because I consistently short and long Ethereum. That's the one asset that I just really love playing with. And on the daily time frame, I had made a few different trend lines just to show us exactly where we were headed in the previous lows that we had saw, and we bounced significantly or almost perfectly on this line, which was great to see. This has me thinking that potentially we could be seeing a little bit of a course correction, especially if we can jump back above this specific area of supports. But at the end of the day, we won't really know until we actually see the price action around Bitcoin, determine what it wants to do, whether we start to course correct back up to specific imbalances or if we continue in this downtrend. Now, the total 3E chart is just following the price action around Ethereum. So as Ethereum starts to dump, altcoins are dumping significantly, which is why everyone has been saying you shouldn't really be investing into altcoins right now, not until the total 3 or the altcoin market cap can start to, explode up, excluding stables, of course. Bitcoin dominance is one of the other charts that just lets us know exactly where liquidity is shifting, and it's dancing perfectly at this 60% region. You can see how it's been having this wedge that it's been playing in, but overall has been on an upward trajectory. So this is where everyone's anticipating if liquidity is going to be pouring into Bitcoin for the remainder of Q4, or if we're going to be seeing a pump for altcoins and Ethereum nearing the end of the year, after November, of course. Now, key news events happen on a week-to-week basis. We're already at the end of the week. By the time you're watching this video, it's probably already Friday, and we're already wrapping up everything that has already happened in the week. And today, we saw the federal budget balance data, and then on top of that, we saw a little bit more understanding of the, October data, and how potentially we're not even going to get anything around jobless reports, a few other different revisions, and it's just not looking good. This is causing massive uncertainty from analysts, traders, and this is where, a lot of people are shorting not only the crypto markets, but also stock markets and multiple other different variations in sectors. So this is where a lot of people are starting to look for big opportunities. We're also starting to see big people, like if you saw the movie The Big Short, one of the major investors just closed his hedge fund. He closed his hedge fund, and it's pretty much just showcasing that more than likely he's probably going to be making some big moves. And whenever we see big players start to make big moves like this, I believe his name was like Michael Burry or something like that, we start to anticipate that there's going to be a lot of deviations in the market. People like Warren Buffett are stacking up on a lot of cash reserves. So this is where crazy moves are going to start to happen, and we're starting to see the effect that it's having on the market. Now, if we look into perspectives around what is expected around Bitcoin, we have just been seeing massive selling action, and this is where we were expecting to deviate below 100,000. But are we going to be able to course correct, or are we just going to keep deviating? This is where, people like KillXBT have been giving their perspectives around Bitcoin and exactly how we have been approaching specific times in the month and what you should be expecting. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the perspective right here, and exactly the Bitcoin and the 14th and the pivot that we always see. And the pivot that we see, guys, is mainly a downward move within a specific period of time. So Bitcoin on the 14th. The pivots have previously triggered strong bearish reactions, but there's a chance this one could spark a bullish move. Overall, the structure remains bearish, but this isn't the time to be aggressively bearish, but rather observant. There is also a chance that this pivot doesn't react bullish at all. That's why observing structure / reclaims is important. We have an FOMC approaching soon, which is the rate cut decision that's going to be coming out from the Fed, but exactly with, how the revisions and data and everything that's going out, not too sure how that's going to be going and how much of an effect it's going to be having on the markets. He says we are either going to do one of two things: A, form a bullish narrative, or B, form a bearish narrative. Only time will tell. Always follow the money. I think it's hilarious when people say stuff like this because the markets can only pump or dump. Like, that's literally all it can do. So of course it's going to be bullish or bearish. But I think the biggest thing that he's trying to get at is that usually whenever we start to see, the approach to this zone, we usually don't see the, downward price action that we're currently seeing right now. We usually see upward trajectory. And since we're seeing upward trajectory in each of these months, and on this month we're seeing downward trajectory, we're anticipating that potentially this could be a bullish narrative. And this is why people like KillXBT are potentially getting ready to long the market while others are getting ready to short. Could we still be deviating more? Yes, we could still be deviating more. But based off of how the price action is looking, specific confluences and exactly what we've seen previously in the months, it looks like potentially we could be seeing a shift. So this is where you got to keep every perspective in mind. But I think this was a great point to point out anyone that's trying to short or long. Now, this is where he also says Bitcoin max fear in the books. Large Binance whales pulled all their bids. He says he smells opportunity. Cartel gonna pull a cat out of the hat. So right now he is also targeting these areas of liquidity around 98, 97,000. And if you start to long right here and pretty much, shoot upwards back to that 102,000, 103,000 region at around 10x leverage, Jesus, you can start to print so much money. But this is where you just have to have the proper stop losses in. You got to have the right amount of capital, and you got to know exactly how to target the market. So this is really good stuff. But are we going to be pumping? Are we going to be dumping? It's all going to be based off of how we close out Friday, and then also how the weekend is going to be looking as well. Now, Dr. Profit has been the main person that has been talking about the crash, that has been happening. He says he warned everyone about this crash, begged all of us to sell at 115 to 125K. And he says that he's going to keep on shorting. He says he's insanely bullish on Bitcoin. He says the reason he has shorted and sold Bitcoin at the top is just to buy the crash that is coming for sure in the coming months, to own 2 to 3x more Bitcoin than before. So he's getting super bullish on Bitcoin, but he believes that the crash is going to be significant on Bitcoin, potentially reaching back below, 70,000, hitting that 50,000 region or even lower. And if that's the case, I'm going to be buying some Bitcoin myself, because that's going to be a very, very big discount. He goes on to talk about how he's not only shorting Bitcoin, but Palantir, Nvidia, Shopify, and multiple other areas in terms of e-commerce, AI, because we're seeing an explosive move and we're pretty much in a bubble. This is where it kind of goes back to that hedge fund I talked about, and how they're pretty much closing out, or he's closing up shop because he's tired. I'm sure, in my perspective, what I'm seeing is that he wants to pretty much make some crazy big plays, similar to what he did back in the Big Short when the housing market crash happened. And I think as a result, he doesn't want to be playing with other people's money. He's worth millions and millions of dollars. So he's obviously going to be shorting these stocks, and it's going to look really crazy. And I think a lot of people aren't expecting the downturn that we're going to be seeing in 2026. Now, Benjamin Cohen is the individual that is talking about Bitcoin dominance, because whenever Bitcoin dominance shoots up, altcoins start to fall down. It's just basic math and basic liquidity theory. So once you understand that, you can understand exactly why everyone is so focused around these specific indicators and how you can position yourself as well. Markets, as I said, just trading sideways, downward price action. And the biggest thing is we're waiting to see exactly what happens tomorrow. Now, that is currently what is happening overall in the markets. The biggest thing is that the US government reopened. It's having an effect on the US markets, seeing deviations, as well as the crypto markets seeing deviations as well. The biggest thing tomorrow is the 14-day pivot that we've been seeing around Bitcoin, and how potentially it could be a bullish move because of all the selling that we have been seeing. Massive, massive selling, overselling, which is why, we start to keep up with the RSI, see exactly if we have, too much selling taking place, or if we're in that overbought region or if we're sitting stationary in the middle and we could be seeing more price action. So this is where it gets super, super crazy. And if you're not keeping up with all these different, indicators, the news events and the perspectives from analysts and traders, you get lost in the sauce and you don't know what's going on and you don't know how to, short or long the market. So if you're new to my channel, please go check out the rest of my content. I try to keep you updated on the day-to-day events, price action around Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, how liquidity is shifting, and everything you need to be aware of. There's crazy opportunity right now in the markets, but most people do not, have the brain capacity to actually learn a little bit about the markets and take the time and patience to learn another skill. And as a result, you kind of just keep repeating the same mistakes, chasing your tail, and you look like a chicken running around with your head cut off. So don't be one of those people. Learn a little bit about what's going on in the markets. If you guys have any questions or suggestions on content, drop it down below. And I would be sure to drop a video tomorrow to let you know exactly how we're closing out the week and what you should be expecting if you're an altcoin investor. Do not capitulate your bags, expect volatility, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.